Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. How are you, Hannah?
I am doing well, and how are you?
I'm doing great. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a nice beginning to the year. We had some great weather these past few days. Starting to get a little colder again, but it was like spring almost these last couple days.
It was weird.
It was really weird. Had a couple people comment about, all the snow and the below zero weather we had over the Christmas holidays, which was mind blowing. Did you realize? I don't know if you realized this. I was talking to somebody. I think it was just at the store or something. And we're talking about the first day. It was like really warm last week, and from the Friday before to that Friday, it was a 90-degree difference.
Seriously.
Because, it was like when it felt like negative 20 something when it was here.
Yeah.
And then it was like 70 something or 60 something.
What?
You're talking, it was like almost 90 degrees difference in 1 week. And that's pretty crazy. So that's that's
God.
Kentucky weather though,
Yep. Kentucky's one of the only states where you can experience all four seasons in the same day.
In the same day, that's right. All right, so we're happy that everybody's here. We got a great start to the year. The Bad Batch has come back, so we're going to talk about that on this episode. Got a couple news things, and then since this is the first episode of 2023, we're going to talk about everything kind of on the slate that's coming from Lucasfilm and Star Wars, and just mention what we're excited for, what we're looking for, what we're maybe going to be surprised with. So we'll get into that. Of course, first, thanks to our patrons that help and support the show. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/InsideTheForce. Again, all new year. I got some new things. The tiers got changed a little bit ago. So if you want to check those out, again, how that works is, it's all different content on there that you're not going to get on this show, and you're not going to get on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has got extra shows as well, but those are all free. So if you want to check us out on Patreon, please do so. I'm in the middle of updating the website. I was hoping to get that done before the new year, but I didn't have time. It's still trying to, I get into this creative funk when I'm like, God, do I want to do it this way or do I want to do it this way? And I got tied up. So I think I know how I want to lay it out. So it's just a matter of doing it. So that'll be done very, very soon. Hopefully this weekend. But thanks truly for everybody that stuck with us over the past year. And, we haven't been on Patreon for a year yet. That should be coming up here in a few months, but hoping to get more on there, obviously, and get everybody what their their value is on what we're doing for you guys. So appreciate that. Let's see. So Hannah,
Yes.
well, before we get into the Bad Batch, the only real news that I wanted to kind of mention, which I know you probably get excited about this because it's on the gaming realm.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's actually a little confusing. I was even confused while I was reading this because there's been several different game announcements, I feel like, but no one's really said it's this game by this crew and it's coming out this date.
Right.
What I think is happening, and I don't know if you might correct me if I'm wrong here. So obviously we got the Jedi Fallen Order sequel coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But right now I believe there's 2, maybe 3 games, but I think that's what I'm confused about. I think maybe 2 of them are the same game. But there's a game that Ubisoft is putting together.
Okay.
That is a massive, just what they're calling just a massive game. They say it's compared to No Man's Sky, which I don't know that. I'm not familiar with that game.
Not familiar at all.
Yeah. What I can gather, it's just a big adventure kind of open world type game.
Is that the one that was rumored to be coming along? Because I remember a while ago there were whispers about a game that was going to be open world, but you could be your own bounty hunter or something like that. Is that game?
See, that's what I'm saying. I think they're the same. I think they're different games, but maybe they're the same game. Because you're right. There were talks of a big open world game, but I don't believe Ubisoft was tied to that game.
Right. That's
what makes me think that's a separate game, and then Ubisoft is making this game. Now, Ubisoft, I'm familiar with Ubisoft because I've seen that logo come up in front of the Assassin's Creed games that I've played before. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes me think it's, open world kind of adventure, kind of pick your path, and do. But they're describing this game as, I mean, when they say massive, they're talking like massive in a sense where you can just travel around the galaxy. You create your own character. Mm-hmm. There is a story still, though. You just create your own character that does the story. So you create a character, I create a character. We kind of do the same story, but we do it in our likeness or whatever. But it apparently is driven by fully customizable character. There are decades of worth of lore, locations, weapons, and characters for Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment to draw from. So the game itself should be something special. So, again, it sounds like this is also an open world. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's all. There's no date yet or of anything. They're just saying They're just saying because also it's going to be so massive. They're wanting to capitalize obviously financially on it. So there's going to be a lot of probably DLC, downloadable content along the way, paid stuff. Probably if you want more like money, you just buy money and pay more. Whatever. All the how those mobile games work now. I think but then also we got to remember, which is going to maybe, I don't think it's going to end up being on our 2023 list because, mm-hmm. they did release a trailer for the game Eclipse that's coming out. And I think that's not coming out until 2024.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I don't know.
That game just sounds like Skyrim, but in Star Wars, so I'm excited about that.
Yes. Which one? The Ubisoft one?
The open world one sounds like it.
Yes.
And then Eclipse. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, because Eclipse is still a little bit confusing because all we saw was, we saw 3D animation. That's not necessarily gameplay. Mm-hmm. So there's no and that one, Eclipse is the one that takes place during the High Republic. Mm-hmm. So we know the time period, but we don't know obviously what characters are involved. We don't know if any characters from the books have been translated over.
Right.
We don't know if the gameplay itself. We don't really know anything about that. So anyway, it's really interesting the game side of things right now. Because there was a big announcement, last year about Lucasfilm Games, becoming more involved in trying to shape what gets made and how it gets made and what type of stories they want to do. And it sounds like they're trying to really land a big hit on the gaming side of things, but it's just crazy how long it's taking. I mean,
games take a long time to make, and who knows, especially if it's going to be a massive world, I feel like that's just going to naturally take longer. But the new Jedi game coming out, I feel like that's going to be a grand slam for them because based on the trailer, it looks like they listened to people when they played Jedi Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that'll be a big slam. Open world will probably be, if it's the same as Eclipse, we don't know. I don't know if it would be the same as Eclipse because that is definitely confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think Eclipse, because it's set in the High Republic, and I gotta imagine it's a storyline they probably can't change too much. So it's, it's like Jedi Fallen Order in a sense. There's just kind
Right.
of you're a character in the High Republic, and you kind of do what you gotta do. These open world games, though, I feel like, yeah, that's gonna be more create your avatar and go at it, and if you want to do this mission, do it. If not, go over here and do this mission. And I think the bounty hunter aspect is probably the best way to do that, obviously, because that's what bounty hunters do, right? I mean, you can get a bounty, and as you're trying to go on that bounty, you got all these side missions you can do to get more money. I mean, that's cool, and I think that's what 1313 was going to be years ago when they were making that. So ultimately, I think that's gonna.
Either that or you get to pick your background.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
So it could be you're actually a member of the Senate going around. I don't know, but I do feel like you're right. If they're going to choose one specific route for all characters to go, kind of almost has to be bounty hunter.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. That was really the only news. There was a rumor going around that they might start actually shooting a movie in a couple of months, but I don't really go that road because I haven't heard a thing about casting or anything like that. So it's like, I don't know how true that's going to be.
Well, I also know you, and you don't want to get your hopes up that they're shooting a movie versus another television show.
Right. Yes. Which there's another, I guess if we're going down the rumor route, there's another rumor also that Jon Favreau is developing another spin-off show off The Mandalorian.
I don't know what show that would be, but
Well, I think it could be. The only thing I think it could be, if it's coming from The Mandalorian, it's either going to be like they bring in another character that shows up in this season, and then that character goes off, and we follow that character, or something gets solved with the Mandalorians, and Mando moves on, and then there's a story about the Mandalorians that keeps going. Because Favreau's a big Mandalorian fan, so I feel like that's where it might go. There might actually be just a Mandalorian show.
that would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think you can call it the Mandalorians, because then you have the Mandalorian, or the Mandalorian, and then the Mandalorians. Yeah,
The jetpacks.
the jetpacks. There you go. Or or whatever clan they're called, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. It could be something else. Could be something totally different.
The Legend of the Dark Saber.
Yeah. Well, now that would be pretty awesome. That would be pretty awesome. Maybe if they went back in time and did the whole, where did the Darksaber come from?
Yep.
Yeah, with what's his name, Tar Vizsla. Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. Okay, the Bad Batch. Let's talk about the Bad Batch.
All right.
So yesterday we got the pleasure of getting 2 episodes, the first 2 episodes. About almost an hour's worth of content. Last year, or I think it was 2 years ago now. May the 4th of 2020. No, 2021. We've got the first season of Bad Batch, and they debuted it as a movie. We got an hour and 15 minutes, I think, or something like that for that, which was pretty awesome. But this was definitely a 2-part episode, as they were connected. First one was called Spoils of War. The second one was Ruins of War. So let's just talk about the first episode, Hannah. What did you think? How much did you like this episode?
I really liked it. Bad Batch is just fun. It's a fun group of characters that we've fallen in love with over time. We also now, because I know the concern was when watching the trailer, it was like, okay, well, what's the story here? Well, in these first two episodes, especially in the first episode, we get a pretty good idea of where the story is going in the sense of the Bad Batch kind of has to decide what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're technically free because they're thought to be dead. So now do they continue to live their lives, or do they take money and help support the rebellion, or do they take their money and run and hide? So, and like it's not that simple of a question because you do have a father-daughter dynamic going on as well between Hunter and Omega. So, there's a lot of questions being thrown around as to what they're going to do. But I think in the first episode, we're introduced to a new character who then disappears. So it'll be interesting to see how Wanda Sykes' character just kind of threads herself throughout the series. We still see it's a great dynamic between everyone. We see that Omega has gotten a little older. She's a little better with her bow, so time definitely has passed. And I love the fact that we went to Serrano immediately.
Yes.
That was a bit of a shock.
It was.
I was kind of hoping we would get a little more lore from there, but we did learn a little bit more about Dooku, which was kind of cool. Especially since with Beyond the Saga, everything recently we've been reading about Dooku.
Yeah.
Or listening to, rather, with that audio, dramatic audio reading.
Right.
So, thoughts to take away. Like, Bad Batch is not my favorite Star Wars series.
Yeah.
But I think it's consistently fun. It reminds me of the Clone Wars. It's a great watch. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, definitely. I think, that's, I feel like with this show, last year I remember, or the first season I remember watching that, and I was kind of in the middle rewatching it before this came back. And, I remember thinking it very much like what you're saying, I think it's fun. There's really not a lot of thinking involved. Like there's not like that mystical lore or any kind of mystery going around these characters. They are who they are. They're clones. They're clones that we already know that they're enhanced. There's nothing beyond that. There's nothing that they're trying to figure out more of, really. They're really just trying to figure out what their place is, which in the end, that's what all those clones are trying to figure out, right? Because there's no war anymore. So what do you do with soldiers when there's not a war? And these guys are doing the same thing. I mean, they're just trying to find a way to eat their next meal, and where they're going to sleep and all. Well, I mean, sleep on the ship probably, but it's like, so we're finding these guys kind of in the same. I mean, they're in the same boat as they were last season. They're working for Sid, and they're trying to just make their way in the galaxy. Omega, it's weird because I feel like in the first few episodes of last season, there was this big question marks kind of lingering, like how did Omega come to be? And why are they after her? I mean, we kind of get the impression that they need her to keep the cloning facility alive, right? Because they need her DNA. She's the only pure clone left. But that kind of died, throughout the season, throughout last season. Of course, and then Kamino gets destroyed. We are left with that last scene where, I can't remember her name, the Kaminoan that got taken to that other facility at the end. So obviously that's going to come up some point this season. But I don't know if there's... I question whether or not there's a lingering question still on Omega. I don't really have any questions about Omega anymore. But I feel like in order to add some kind of expansion to these characters, like you got to do something with her. I think. I just don't know. I personally don't have those questions really anymore like I did last season. You know, I feel like she's found her family now. You know, Star Wars is about family. There's these 5 characters now that are together and they're doing this all together. And they're not questioning each other or anything like that. The only outlier, obviously, is Crosshair still. So you know, going into this, I'm like, again, like we've said already, it's an enjoyable storyline, but I think there's just a lot more. I feel like there's got to be a lot more coming to advance this story, because I think we talked about the trailer when I saw it. It's like it just seems like they're kind of stuck right now in the same thing, and I feel like they are, and I do feel like it's got to go somewhere. I mean, it just has to go somewhere. I just can't imagine it being like this for 16 more episodes. So
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you're stuck in this like circle of story that will become very repetitive. It just is not interesting anymore. And it's really funny that you bring up why Omega was so important in the first season. Yeah, like I completely forgot about that.
mm-hmm.
You know, that's how much it died off.
It did.
So yeah, so the question is there still something special about her? Like, I mean, at this point we know she's not incredibly crucial to the extent of when she died.
Right.
They didn't try to recover her body. They didn't try to like search for her to see if she was alive. So maybe she's just a key to something that makes life a lot easier for them.
Yeah, maybe.
Hurries up the timeline. But I don't know. I agree with you. I sort of see the whole idea of like the questions out there is, if we get money, do we go into hiding? Do we help the rebel? Like, what do we do now instead of this cycle that we're always in of just living paycheck to paycheck? But you're right. There has to be something else for Omega. There has to be another dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, like, we're told that commander, I think he was commander or general, when the report was wrong about them being still
Yes.
alive or them being dead, you know, all of a sudden he's freaking out. Why is that so important?
Yeah.
So I think there is something else we just don't know about yet. And I agree with you with that. That's what's currently missing.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that earlier today, where I couldn't remember because I hadn't reached the rewatch at the end of season 1, where did Crosshair see that they survived, and we talked about it, and I do remember now. Yeah, he did, and he let them go. Right? I think you said that to me. So he knew that they survived. No one else probably does. So he probably told the Empire, yeah, no one survived. They must be dead. They're at the bottom of the ocean. So that's where it comes to be a big surprise, obviously, in episode 2, which we'll get into now, I guess, is, you know, the Admiral there, I think his name Rampart. I think it's Admiral Rampart.
I think it's Rampart.
Yeah, he obviously finds out or discovers that he was either lied to, or whoever filed the report, like maybe obviously Crosshair probably, you know, changed it. And so that, I think, you know, that was, I remember that being the big lingering question I had at the end of last season was, okay, so is Crosshair affected by his chip or not? Is he acting now, you know, rationally? Is he just deciding now to not be with the guys and be with the Empire? I think that's still a question that is out there. I don't think that was ever really resolved.
That's really interesting too. And I mean, now it's like, is Crosshair in danger of being killed himself?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, how important is he? If they really want the whole, and where is he? Like, if there are a lot of questions. And I feel like you always hope that in the first, and I know that there were 2 episodes, but for some reason I'm just like lumping them as one episode in
Yeah,
my mind.
totally.
You kind of hope that at least something points you in a direction in the first episode or two. And I don't feel like we have that. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It still makes us go, okay, what's going on? I'm just wondering what is the major hook, if that makes sense.
I think you're totally right, because, if we think back again to the premiere of the first season, like, that was a major hook. It was like, okay, these guys are on the run because their chips didn't malfunction. Their chips malfunctioned or didn't affect them. They're trying to just figure out what's going on, and it was that theme for at least the first, because I'm like 7 episodes in still, and it's still that theme of like, okay, they just got their chips out like in episode 6 or whatever, so they're just figuring out now. And then of course Wrecker had that big malfunction where he's attacking his own guys, so it was really interesting about all of that. Like there was definitely direction there and purpose for what these guys are trying to figure out. But that quickly, once they got their chips out, that kind of quickly went away, and it became just about survival, and Omega's survival, because then bounty hunters started coming after Omega, right? Cad Bane and Fennec, and so it became just protecting her. But you're right. In these first 2 episodes, I mean, again, they're doing the same thing they were doing before, which is they're just going on a mission to get more money so that maybe they can kind of buy their freedom in a sense, where they don't have to work for Sid anymore. Sid doesn't have to make any more money. She can go off and retire. But in the end, like, there was nothing that came about this failed mission that kind of sends our guys in a different direction, besides a little bit of a conversation about using the money to help somehow, right? There was a little bit of that Echo was talking, I think he was talking to Hunter about, and then Omega overheard. That's what made her want to go back after the money. So it's like, okay, so maybe there's something there where they got the guys obviously start turning into figuring out how they can help people. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, maybe that leads them to the rebellion in a sense, or to a rebel cell. Obviously, we saw Organa and Bail Organa in the trailer, so he's going to be in it at some point. But I think the only kind of hook or surprise, in a sense, was Rampart and those guys figuring out that the Bad Batch are still alive. I mean, that's kind of the hook, I guess, in a sense, or the plot point that it's going to kind of carry on, because I think that's what's going to ultimately get Crosshair involved again, and that's where we kind of see Commander Cody get involved now, with maybe trying to track these guys down. So that's kind of where I see it going, in a sense.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. It's just, how is it all going to be put into place? Mm-hmm. And what's your major hook for this season?
Yeah. No, I think Filoni's hiding a lot. I think he's intentionally hiding a lot. I think there's going to be, which is great, because I want to be surprised. I want to be completely turned around on where I think it's going, and then it's going down this, because I feel like that's where Clone Wars did so eloquently. It was, man, you thought it was going this way, but then all of a sudden it was like, what? And then Rebels did it also. Mm-hmm. So I hope it does that. I hope it. I mean, hell, Mandalorian did it too. With bringing Ahsoka in, and then Luke and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, it's. I think there's going to be surprises in this season like that.
Oh, there will be. There will be surprises. I think it would have been nice to at least been given a little breadcrumb in the first 2 episodes. And who knows, we might not realize we did receive the breadcrumb until we get to a later episode.
Well, yeah, true.
So, Only time will tell.
Yeah. All right, so good start, I think, to the Bad Batch. First 2 episodes are down in the can, and then we got an episode now every week coming up. Although the mid-season of the series will be getting 2 episodes again, and then the finale will be 2 episodes 15 and 16. So it's 16 episodes minus, so it's like 13 weeks of Bad Batch. There you go. All right. Publication, just to let everybody know about that. So the Battle of Jeddah, the audio drama just dropped on Tuesday, January 3rd. The next novel is going to be Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars. The novel takes place between the 2 games. That comes out March 7th. High Republic Cataclysm, April 4th. High Republic Path of Vengeance, May 2nd. And then Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade, July 18th. Comics, next week on the 11th, you got Vader 30, Mandalorian 7, High Republic 4. The 18th, Bounty Hunters 30, Han and Chewbacca 9. And then 25th, Afra 28, Yoda number 3, High Republic, The Blade number 2. Lots of comics hitting your shelves this month. And then speaking of content coming out, let's get into what's coming out from Star Wars this year.
Yes.
2023. I believe on a previous episode we did kind of talk about the list, so we'll get a little more into some expectations here. Of course, as we just talked about, the Bad Batch came out this year. That's going to go through all the way through March, actually, and overlap with season 3 of The Mandalorian that debuts March 1st.
Okay.
So we got 2 shows going on at once. First time in Disney Plus Star Wars history.
Whew.
And then also in March, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order is coming out. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the video game. Totally pumped about that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I feel like I don't really have all that much time to sit down and like just play a video game. But I will give up some sleeping hours to play that game.
I really want to play. We don't have a PS5, so I'm just like, please be
Is
made
it only
available.
coming out on PS5?
I think it's only for the PS5.
Oh,
Is it only
dang.
for the Did I just put my foot in my mouth?
I mean, it might. I know it's coming out on Xbox, which I believe I might have to upgrade my Xbox as well if I'm going to play it, because I think it might only be Xbox X, Series X, or S, and it might be PS5. It might only be PS5. You might be right.
No. It's not available for PS4 or Xbox One.
It's not.
Not.
Oh yeah. See, I might have to upgrade.
Only available. It looks like it's only available for PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Okay, we have a PC, so I might be able to play it on the PC. But
See, I got an Xbox One, so I'm gonna have to upgrade.
Oh,
Dang.
no.
Okay.
That's what I googled and found.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think it was made in that HDR or whatever and 4K and all that stuff. So I think my Xbox One is not 4K. So yeah, wow,
I don't like that.
dang, yeah, I'm gonna have to do some upgrades. But anyway, yeah, that's coming out in March.
Very excited for that.
Very excited for that. You know, my only concern about that, well, I'll get into that here in a second. Star Wars Visions Volume 2 will be out sometime this year. We don't have a release date for that yet, but that will be dropping this year as well. And then, of course, 2 other live-action series, one being the highly anticipated Ahsoka. Again, no release date yet. But then the new one that popped up this past year, Skeleton Crew. Very interesting because we really haven't seen or heard anything about this show. But apparently that is debuting this year as well. So on top of that, of course, you got the novels that are coming out that we just mentioned. There will be a lot more announcements on novels. Those aren't the only novels. Those are the only ones we know about right now. But usually throughout the year, novels will pop up. Comics, of course, it seems like the comic series of Star Wars, Vader, Bounty Hunters, and Aphra are kind of the four main ones that are kind of leading the charge there. Of course, you got the High Republic series, and then you've got, Han and Chewie and Mandalorian that'll probably finish up. Those are just limited series. Yoda, I'm not actually sure how long, if that's a limited series or if it's got an ongoing. I'm assuming it's unlimited. But, Charles Soule, his third part of his trilogy called Hidden Empire is going to be out this year as well. So, a lot of big stuff going on the publication side. And then, Dark Horse Comics. I don't really talk about Dark Horse Comics much on here, but they have taken over it's called they kind of reference it as the all age comics. So, Marvel kind of does the, if you want to label it, adult comics in a sense. Dark Horse has what IDW had, which is the all ages comics. So they're a little more kid friendly in a sense. They're simpler storylines and stuff like that. So, but Dark Horse is now kind of ramping up their comic lines right now. So there will be more Star Wars stuff coming out on Dark Horse. And then then there are some fantastic, I call them DK books, the books that DK puts out, which are more of the encyclopedias and ultimate guides and stuff like that. So there's that big one coming out in April called Star Wars Timelines, which I am pumped for. I mean, it's an expensive book. I think it's like $45.
Dang.
I know, but it is apparently the entire timeline of things that have been released. So I don't know for sure if it has everything, like every comic, every book and stuff like that, but I know for sure it's got every show, every movie, every series, stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm excited about getting into that and seeing how that goes. But okay, so I don't know. Out of all that, Hannah, try to sift through it. I mean, what are a couple things that you're just most excited to see or hear or read out of all that?
Definitely Jedi Survivor.
Is that top of your list?
That's one of the top ones. I am so excited for that game. The first game was fantastic. And then the gameplay in this one, it just looks like there's so many more options. It's a lot more interactive. I'm very excited for this game. Mm-hmm. Can't play it, but I'm very excited.
What did you play the first one on?
PS4.
Oh, okay. So you guys got a PS4.
Yeah, we have a PS4, but not a PS5.
Yes. Yeah.
But
okay, so what else beyond?
We do have a PC, so I might be able to make that work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what else beyond that?
Other than that, I think Ahsoka will be interesting. Is it bad for me to say that the part I'm looking forward to most in Ahsoka is Thrawn?
No, I think a lot of people are excited about that.
So that's why I'm excited about Ahsoka.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people from the original Timothy Zahn books always wanted to see a live action Thrawn, I mean, just think about that. It's been 30 years almost that it took for that character to finally become live action. So
yeah.
I think that's great. I mean, I don't think I would have ever anticipated ever seeing Ahsoka in live action, but that's a treat too. Considering, the the growth, in the fandom that character went through, to see her finally come to life.
Yeah. I think the third main thing that I'm excited for, which kind of like it kind of leaks into 2024 as well with Acolyte, but I'm just excited that we're exploring more of the Sith. I'm excited
Yeah.
that we're exploring that whole aspect of the Force more with books, potentially comics, and then that show. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that. That'll be a lot of fun. And I know that over the last year, they started kind of dipping into it, like with Shadow of the Sith. So it'll be great to explore more of that,
Yep.
see more of that.
And I think I think these stories that we've been getting with Dooku is kind of showing a little bit of that too.
Yeah, that's true.
About how because technically we've only really seen Anakin's turn. We haven't really seen anybody else turn. We've read about it, like Quinlan Voss a little bit in Dark Disciple. But when we got first introduced to Ventress, like she was already kind of bad. Even though we end up learning later she used to be a Padawan, but but we never really see anybody like Dooku, like in Tales of the Jedi, and like how his path led him to the dark side. So that's pretty interesting to see that. And then as we get into the Acolyte, if that's what that means, is there a turn there somewhere or something? So
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's that's probably definitely going to be on the top of my 2024 list for sure.
Absolutely.
So Mandalorian is not on your top 3, huh? Huh?
Those are my top 3.
Wow. Okay.
What about yours?
For number 1 for me is Ahsoka for sure. I've been ever since that was announced. I've been dying for that series. I think, I think the fact that, let's call it what it is. To be honest, it's a Rebel sequel. It's not just Ahsoka. It's a Rebel sequel. I mean, what happened to Ezra? Where's Thrawn? Sabine's in it. Hera's in it.
Hera's in it.
Chopper's in it. Maybe Zeb's going to be in it. We got to remember too that I believe, if I can remember, he has to be. Hera and Kanan had a child, so
Yes.
Jason, I think, right?
I think that was his name.
Yeah, I think his name is Jason. So anyway, I wonder how he factors in, if he's in the show at all. It's just the fact that I honestly think it's going to be a little weird at first seeing them in live action together. Do you think so? I kind of think so.
It'll be fun.
Yeah,
It'll be fun for sure.
I mean, because Saul, when we saw Saul for the first time,
That was
but he was different looking because we hadn't seen Saul at that age. In, we saw him in the Clone Wars, and then became a live action character in his later years. So it's like it wasn't kind of the same thing. But this is like, I don't know if I'm trying to think if it's happened before where we saw an animated person and then the live action version in the same timeline, like in roughly the same timeline. But we're about to see that now, right? I mean, it's been a couple years, but not much. So I don't know, seeing them together, and it's going to be weird because I'm so used to their voices. Vanessa Marshall and Freddie Prinze Jr. is not going to be in it, but what's his name? Taylor Gray and Ashley Eckstein. It's like I got their voices in my head for these characters. Because I don't know about you, but I kind of still was thrown off by Rosario Dawson a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna be very unique because we did get that once. Somebody that we saw in animated and then saw live action, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan, you're right. Yep.
But it was the same.
she looks like Bo-Katan. I mean, she looked dead on, and that's what made that one so easy to transition because it sounds like her too, obviously.
Right, exactly. So I think I think the voice is gonna be the thing that kind of throws us off a bit. It's not necessarily going to be the look. It's going to be the voice because Bo-Katan, that was so easy. That was such an easy transition.
Yes.
So
And I
that's
think-
an excellent point. I definitely think the different voices, like, of course, they're going to try to sound as similar as possible, but it's not going to
Yeah.
be the same.
No.
So that's probably just going to be a little, not off-putting.
No, I don't think it'll be off-putting either. I think it'll just take a second to get used to. You know.
Yeah. Be like, oh, that's weird. Like,
Yeah. But it was cool is that apparently, which again hasn't been fully confirmed, but apparently Thrawn is going to be the same. So, I think it's I think it's Lars Mikkelsen that's playing Thrawn, voiced him in Rebels.
I thought it was Mads. I thought Mads was going to be Thrawn.
Isn't Mads the one he was the one in Rogue One? That's Mads Mikkelsen, right?
Yeah.
So it's his brother, Lars, that voices Thrawn in Rebels, or do I have them backwards?
I don't. Yeah, it's a rumor that it's Lars Mikkelsen. I got
Yes.
it confused. I got because they're related, right?
They're brothers, yeah.
Yeah, they're brothers. I got them
Yeah.
confused. That would be fantastic.
So the Lars is rumored to be playing the live action version of Thrawn. Mm-hmm. So that voice is going to be the same. And
good.
as you've listened to also, I mean, it's basically the way he speaks in the audiobooks, which even though that wasn't the same person, you know, the guy that, and I guess, I'm assuming Mark Thompson was the one that narrated the Ascendancy
Yes.
books. Yeah. He is, I mean, he's the best. But he does Thrawn like perfect.
He does. Like, it's just insane.
Yes.
It's,
Because when I heard him in Rebels, you know, Lars was playing Thrawn in Rebels. And then all of a sudden the Thrawn books came out, the new ones by Timothy Zahn. And I heard Thrawn speaking. I'm like, wait a minute, is that the same person? And it wasn't, but he made him sound like the same, you know, sound like Lars, Mark Thompson, that is. So there is they've established a very unique voice and tone and style of Thrawn. How he speaks, you know, it's just the way he talks. You can't change that. I mean, if all of a sudden he started speaking normal, that would be really weird.
I might turn off the show.
Yeah, I'm with you because it's like honestly, it's honestly giving like Vader a different voice. You know,
Yeah.
like if
Hey,
it's not,
Luke, I'm
Yeah.
your father.
yeah, like if it's not James Earl Jones or it's not like an AI version of James Earl Jones, like you can't do it. I mean, you just can't do it. So I'm with you. I think anyway, Ahsoka on my list tops. I just can't wait to see the lore that gets into and how. And you know, there's rumors again that there's another Jedi that's been hiding that's going to be part of the show. So I'm just excited and seeing where that goes.
Is it going to be a younger Lucian?
It's going to be who?
A younger Lucian?
Oh, I don't know. Luthen?
Am I saying his name? Luthen, yeah.
Well, this is after that.
Okay, so an older version?
Maybe an older version. Yeah, it could be an older version for sure if he survives that whole time.
Yeah, if he survives.
I think second for me. I think it's season 3 of The Mandalorian. I'm pretty excited about
Okay.
that. Pretty excited because of the Mandalorians. Like, I'm glad that Grogu and I'm glad they got back together. But this whole thing about the Darksaber and what happened to Mandalore. Like I'm pretty interested in that. I'm more interested in that than I was just those guys just kind of walking around doing stuff. Like I'm really interested in more Mandalore stuff. And then I am number 3 for me is definitely the game. Yeah, I'm pumped about the game. I'm not as pumped now because I gotta go buy a whole new system, but I wish I probably should have known that because then I could have asked it for Christmas.
Darn it.
Yeah, darn it. And plus I got a Disney trip coming up in early April, so I gotta might have to do it like a side job to get me a Xbox.
Do passive income.
I don't even know how much a new Xbox costs.
Oh, I don't even want to look.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being. It's got to be. These things got to be $600-$700 now.
Xbox. It's called the Xbox X Series, Series X.
Series X. Yeah.
You're looking at Target.
Are they even in stock? They're probably not in stock because of the Christmas.
They're probably not in stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say if it's in stock or not, but it's not even showing the prices.
Yeah, that's when you know it's not cheap.
Yeah, $500.
500?
That's what it looks like. 500.
That's not too bad.
When purchased online.
But that's just the console. Like you don't have.
Yeah,
well,
there's no
maybe
deal with that.
one controller. I guess it comes with. I got to buy a couple of controllers for my kids. Anyway.
You can get. Well, it comes with one controller.
Yeah. So I'm the only one going to be playing that thing. You know, what I've done, and I don't know if you think it, but you might consider doing this, Hannah, is what I usually do is I'll resell my current system. And you can usually get a couple $100 for it. Like throw it on eBay. I'll probably get a couple $100 for my Xbox One. Then I'll just use that to buy a new one.
Who would want a PS4?
I'm telling you, a lot of people would buy it.
All right, we might do that because
they don't want to pay $500-$600 for a PS5, but they'll pay a couple $100 for a PS4. I mean, I've always done that. I don't have any of my previous gaming systems because I sell them before I buy the new one. So
we'll definitely consider that.
Yes, it's definitely worth looking into. Plus, if you got some games you can stack with it, that'll go with it. I'm telling you.
But I like my games.
Well, you can save the ones you want, but get rid of the ones. Okay, so yeah, all right, that's everything coming, and it seems. I mean, and I didn't even mention there's a celebration happening in Europe this year. So if anybody on the other side of I know we've got a lot of listeners over there in Europe. If you're going to be in London, there's going to be Star Wars Celebration, I believe. Let me look it up real fast. I think it's in April or maybe May. Celebration.com. I think it's in May or late April. Star Wars Celebration Europe. Why doesn't it show me the dates? There it is. April 7th through the 10th. Oh, okay. Interesting. I will just come back from Disney when that starts.
Oh, very nice.
Good. That's perfect timing, actually. So that's at the end of our spring break or whatever. Yes, all our celebration. So I anticipate, so that's in April, meaning there will only be about 4 or 5 episodes in on season 3 of The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that weekend we will be getting a ton of stuff from Ahsoka, from Skeleton Crew, and I believe that's where we'll get any kind of news about whether or not there's going to get any movies done or not.
I think also, now that you mention it, because that's in the middle of Mandalorian, we might be introduced to the character that you said it's rumored that Jon Favreau is going to be doing the spinoff on.
Very true. Yep.
So that if that announcement is true and not just a rumor, that would be the perfect time.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I imagine there's going to be definitely some reveals there at Star Wars Celebration. So if you guys are over there or interested, go check that out. Celebration is a fantastic, fantastic time. I wish I had the funds to go over there, but I'll be at Disney a week before. So, all right, let's do some comments here. Let's see. On our last episode here, which was reflecting, Thrawn Addict here. Happy New Year, David and Hannah, and looking forward to more content from you both in 2023. Really enjoyed all of Star Wars in 2022. Gutted still, no films, but don't think that'll happen until 2024 or 2025. Really looking forward to The Mandalorian, Season 3, and Ahsoka. Give me some Thrawn already. So, right up your alley there. Yeah, definitely more content coming from us. I know we keep talking, but I know it's a new year, so we're going to get in this. And I've got this new platform we're kind of recording on now. I'm pretty happy with this setup, so we can do a lot more with this. So I'm thinking we got to do a commentary here soon. Hannah, start doing some commentary. So I feel like we could do something with this, and this is easily connected to some live streaming on here as well. So might look into that a little bit. So yeah, get some comment. I've never done a commentary where anybody can like chime in as we're talking about it. So that would be pretty interesting. I just never done it before.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, so we'll look into that, but a lot more stuff coming. I did put up a reaction video on Patreon for these first 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. Short and sweet, but those are kind of my first reactions to it. Obviously, we talk more about it on this show, as we will do in the coming weeks. So Hannah, if you feel like you see something, you think of something right away after you watch it, record something, shoot it over to me. We'll get it up on Patreon for them.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then, of course, the Mandalore podcast, we want to check that out. Me and Martin are going to start doing some deep dives into the episodes. I'm sure he's going to want to probably bring you on there, Hannah, as well. So at some point. So
Let's do it.
Yeah, you might have to block out a couple hours. You know how those go.
It's all good. It's all good.
I don't know. Bad Batch is not really, there's a shorter episode. It's not really that much to deep dive into, especially there was nothing really complicated about these first 2 episodes, so it shouldn't be too bad. But
you never know.
You never know. Me and Martin get on some tangents sometime. Of course, like I said, hit us up on YouTube at Inside the Force if you want to see all of our shows Beyond the Saga, which Hannah and I will be doing some more of, and then Council Sessions. I just put up a Council Session up the other day where Martin and I are talking about whether or not episodes 10, 11, and 12, if we should ever get them. Real quick, yes or no? What do you think?
No.
No? Okay.
Let's be done with the Skywalker saga and let's move on.
Yeah.
Please.
I agree with you, but I do think at some point Disney is going to try to cash in on a 10, 11, 12 at some point. I think that's just inevitable, but
okay.
Yeah, we'll see. And then of
there
course,
are no more Skywalkers around.
Ray Skywalker is the only one around now. Yeah, so that's what it would be about. And like I said, on Patreon.com, if you're interested in joining there, a lot more content on there, like reaction videos and commentaries and things we're going to be doing there. So go check out our tiers there at Inside the Force on Patreon. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. Thank you, Hannah, as always.
Thank you, and here's to 2023.
Yes, here's to 2023. Exciting Star Wars year. And we're going to be here to talk about all of it. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. May the force be with you.